Okay.
Welcome to this special meeting of the Larkspur City Council. Today's June 23rd, 2022. My name is Dan Hilmer. I'm serving as mayor this year. First item on this today's agenda is roll call. Would the city clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Hara?
Here.
Councilmember Way?
Here.
Vice Mayor Paulson?
Here.
Mayor Hilmer?
Here. We're going to forego the Pledge of Allegiance today because of the special nature of the meeting. The next item on the agenda is public comment. Are there members of the public that would like to ask questions or make comments on an item that is not on the agenda for this meeting?
I'm looking for any raised hands from our audience members. And there's no public comment.
Well, all right, we'll close public comment and we'll move to the next item on the agenda, which are business items. We have one, it's an urgency ordinance barring its consideration of an urgency ordinance, barring evictions due to impacts from the public health emergency arising from the COVID-19.
Silence yourself, but I'm going to hand it to Elise Simonian, who's going to do the presentation.
Thank you. Good morning, Mayor and City Council. Staff is recommending adoption of an urgency ordinance to prevent residential evictions in the city of Larkspur for non-payment of rent due to financial stress related to COVID-19. The statewide eviction moratorium will expire on June 30th, and the proposed urgency ordinance prevents evictions and late fees for tenants financially impacted by COVID-19. Nothing in the ordinance relieves the tenant from the liability for any unpaid rent. The ordinance does encourage property owners and tenants to work out payment plans for unpaid rent. Fairfax has passed a similar eviction moratorium, and on June 21st, the Marin County Board of Supervisors and the City of San Rafael adopted similar eviction moratoriums. Novato may also be considering this issue soon. As I noted in the staff report, the City of Larkspur has a large number of residential tenants, and a large number of those renters are paying a large portion of their income on rent. So medical expenses, missing work, or caring for an ill relative due to COVID-19 can quickly put tenants behind in rent, making them more likely to face the prospect of eviction. Eviction can lead to homelessness, loss of community, stress, and anxiety caused by the experience of displacement. It may also cause families to move into overcrowded conditions, creating greater risk for the spread of COVID-19. Without local protection, eviction notices for failure to pay rent are likely to surge following expiration of the state eviction protections on June 30th. The ordinance would be effective July 1st through September 30th, and this timeline aligns with the continued distribution of funds through the Marin County Emergency Rental Assistance Program, which is still processing applications from property owners and renters facing financial hardship due to COVID-19. The county program pays up to 18 months of rental assistance and utility arrears payments. They prioritize individuals with the lowest incomes, and their current balance for rental assistance is about $8.5 million. They have assisted over 1,500 households in Marin, and they have many pending applications and 331 rental assistance applications on their wait list. The wait list represents applicants that filed after January 8th, when they said that they could assist others if there was additional funding available. 6% of the waitlist applicants are in the Greenbrae and Larkspur zip codes. The county has accelerated distribution of funds and anticipates that the remaining funds will be distributed by September 30th. Having an eviction moratorium to the same September 30th date will help prevent tenants from being evicted while the county processes their applications for assistance. Staff recommends that the City Council adopt the urgency ordinance, and a 4/5 vote of the council is required to pass the ordinance. The city attorney and I are available for any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much for the staff report. Are there questions from the City Council members regarding the staff report? Allison, are there, I guess, do we open the public comment at this time?
I'm looking for... Councilmember Paulson, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I just, staff, briefly, I was wondering if staff could just clarify a little bit more about some definite, the ERAP program, the timing of that program and how it overlaps with this ordinance. Yeah, I just start with that question. Thank you.
So the county still has $8.5 million of funds. They've already distributed about $2 million, and I think in the last couple of weeks or month. So they're working very quickly to try to distribute the remaining funds. And as I noted, there's 331 people still on the waiting list for those funds. So it will take some time for them to get those funds out to the applicants. Does that answer your question? But
Yes.
they're expecting to have those, they on the timeline they're on, they believe they would have that all distributed by September 30th.
Okay, I understand. And I'm sorry, the 331 people, are these Larkspur residents or county residents?
That's countywide. The zip codes in the city of Larkspur, there's 23 applicants.
Okay, thank you.
Are there council member questions? If Allison, are there any council? I don't have, I can't see raised hands. You'll have to tell me if there are council members that want to speak.
I see no further council members. I can go to public comment, raise hands if you're ready for that.
Let's please go to public comment.
Our first comment will come from Joshua Howard.
Welcome, you have 3 minutes.
Good morning, Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Joshua Howard. I'm with the California Apartment Association, here today to speak in strong opposition to the unnecessary and legally questionable proposal before you this afternoon. On the one hand, the staff report and the staff presentation say that this is to protect tenants with pending ERAP applications. Landlords want to help these residents. Landlords are committed to helping those with pending ERAP applications who have not yet received their funding because of the long wait and the process that's entailed to get the money out. But your ordinance goes far beyond. Your ordinance creates an entirely new incentive to renters to not pay their rent. It tells renters they don't have to live up to their contractual obligations, all by checking a box claiming that they are affected by COVID-19 in the months of July, August, and September, with no proof that they have ever been affected by COVID-19 during those 3 months. For the past 2 years, we've seen great strides since the first eviction moratorium. Vaccines are on the rise, schools are open, jobs are back, masks are optional, and businesses are operating at full capacity. There is no rational justification for inviting tenants to not pay rent for the next 90 days. It invites abuse. Just look at what's happening in Alameda County in Los Angeles, where tenants are told they don't have to pay the rent. Landlords are struggling. They are not able to evict their tenants. They're not even able to work with their tenants. It's also important to understand what really happens on July 1st. On July 1st, the state eviction moratorium does expire. But right now, only tenants with pending ERAP applications are protected through July 1st. This ordinance, as I keep saying, goes far beyond. It goes beyond those who have pending ERAP applications, and it creates an entirely new eviction moratorium for tenants who are not going to pay their rent, and yet there will not be any ERAP funds available for those rents that are not collected in July, August, or September, and then further tells landlords they have until the end of the year to hopefully collect the July, August, and September rent from those renters. We'd urge you to work with landlords. If there's 23 pending applications in the town of Larkspur, those are 23 individuals that landlords will be working with carefully to make sure that the applications are completed and the rents are hopefully collected through ERAP. But there is no public health crisis that warrants a new eviction moratorium in Larkspur or anywhere in Marin County. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Allison, who's the next public comment?
I'm looking for any additional raised hands from our audience members. And there's no further public comment.
Okay, we'll close public comment. This is a business item. We'll bring it back to the City Council for discussion and consideration of the staff recommendation. Councilmember Way, would you like to start?
I was wondering if we could ask our city attorney to weigh in on the legally questionable comment and whether this ordinance extends beyond what would be the limitations provided by the state.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So as required by state law, the recitals in the proposed ordinance include the factual foundation for the passage of an urgency ordinance. I believe that they are legally sufficient to support the adoption of the ordinance. I understand that there is, I would characterize it as a public disagreement about whether or not there are ongoing economic effects of COVID. But the position taken in this ordinance as suggested by the county with input from the county public health official is that there are still public health impacts from COVID-19. Those are still having economic impacts on the ability of renters to pay their rent, and that the potential displacement of tenants over in the July through September period would potentially exacerbate the public health impacts of the ongoing pandemic, and that this is a combined issue of tenants, the delay in delivery of both the county and state funding to support tenants and landlords with financial assistance, and also ongoing impacts of the pandemic. And so I think that between the two of them, there is a factual foundation for doing this, and that supports the idea of not limiting the ordinance only to those with pending applications for financial assistance, either to the county or to the state. I believe that the California Apartment Association also submitted written comments, and just to briefly address 2 points. One of them was that it appeared that the ordinance called for a declaration from tenants, but no form of declaration was provided. And I just wanted to point out that that form of declaration is actually included in the definitions section, which is section 3A2 of the ordinance. And then additionally, there was a comment about the ordinance referring back to unpaid rent to April 1st, and the letter references section 1179.05 subsection B of the Code of Civil Procedure. And that section actually refers to just cause eviction ordinances. And this is actually not a just cause for eviction ordinance. This is a moratorium, a temporary moratorium on evictions related to inability to pay rent because of ongoing effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. But as was stated in the staff report, the obligation to pay the rent remains. All it does is provide an additional defense to an eviction proceeding if the tenant has stated under penalty of perjury that they are suffering economic impacts from the pandemic that are preventing them from paying rent during that period. They would nevertheless have an obligation to pay the rent by the end of the year. So just wanted to touch on those as well.
Thank you for that clear explanation. I really appreciate that. And just a follow-up to that, and maybe Elise knows, when the County Public Health Director, Dr. Matt Willis, weighs in about where we are in the state of the pandemic, with this current surge that's happening, did that factor into this extension? Do we know? Because we are in a tail end of a surge.
No, my understanding when I first was presented this in the Marin Managers Association meeting is it's almost exclusively about the backlog of funding and a desire to clear that backlog.
To clear the backlog. All right.
Are there other council member discussion on this item?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes,
a couple questions to continue on Councilmember Way's question. I think, looking at Mr. Howard's letter, maybe 2 more points. One was if Sky, you can comment on the noticing objection that 15 days noticing are allowed in the ordinance versus a requested 7-day. And maybe more significantly, Mr. Howard said that there will be no funds for new cases between July and August. And it sounds like the 8.5 million overhang may cover that. And I don't know if we have any sense for that. I mean, it's clear to me that it does not take tenants off the hook. So if they make this claim, they're gonna have to pay down the road. But maybe you can just comment on the funding situation. Thank you.
Yeah, I might ask for Dan and Elise to supplement anything that I say about the funding situation, but it is the case that, as I understand it, the county program and the state program are not going to provide funding for this July through September period. So the tenants would, but the way the ordinance is structured, this is not, it does not relieve tenants of the obligation to pay the rent. It merely provides them with a defense against eviction and a longer period of time to repay the rent owed during that period. So unless the county or the state alters their programs to provide funding for this July through September period, I don't believe that it's going to apply, but tenants would still remain on the hook for it. Regarding the notice period, I think that tenants would say that the 15 days is actually a reasonable period of time for them to be able to figure out their situation and deliver the paperwork to the landlord. I understand that there may be some debate about that, and I've certainly seen a number of ordinances that take a variety of approaches to the amount of time that's provided for this piece of the process. But we basically took what was recommended by the county in this regard, and so the 15 days would be consistent with the county, and I assume the other cities that have enacted the ordinance. And so there is some benefit to having consistency of rules across Marin County so that everyone has the same understanding about what the rules are.
Right. And Sky, just let me insert one more question. So just for my and the council's clarification, if I as a renter after this deadline, say on August 1st, ask for this forbearance, and I don't pay come the end of the period, the money will be due, and the landlord can do an unlawful detainer, within the normal California proceedings if I don't pay, correct? So there is recourse. It's really more of a forbearance than a forgiveness or anything.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
I assume we're interested in taking a vote on this while we have 4 people. I have to leave the meeting in 5 minutes. A further council member discussion. I'd entertain a motion.
Councilmember Haroff, your microphone is not working, but I can see that you're trying to speak. You're still muted. We're still not hearing you, Councilmember Haroff.
Well, we can't hear Kevin, so I will move Ordinance 1058. An urgency ordinance for the City Council of the City of Larkspur barring evictions in the City of Larkspur due to the local state of emergency arising from COVID-19.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Yes, I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further council discussion? Is Councilmember Haroff able to unmute himself? If he's unable to unmute himself, I will ask for him to signal a thumbs up as an affirmative vote during the roll call. Would the city clerk please call the roll and call the question?
Councilmember Hara? Thank you. Councilmember White?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Paulson?
Yes.
Mayor Hilmer?
Yes. Allison, your audio is very low.
And let the record reflect that Councilmember Haroff did give the thumbs up in signaling his yes vote on the motion.
The motion passes with a 4/5 vote. Councilmember Cantel is absent. That concludes that item. The next item is a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second that.
We are adjourned without objection. Thank you very much, everybody. I will close